This session is about informal education, as you know. It's the last session, the 10th session. And informal education means, the education in not academic or institutional places, but in museums, planetariums, and other special spaces. And the first talk will be done by Harufumi Tamazawa. I don't know if he's here, or she, or sorry, and is from Japan. And title of the talk is Sunspot Observations by Cooperation of Amateur Astronomers and Researchers in Japan in early 20th century as Early Citizen Science Program. Are you here?
I'm Tamazawa. I'm
Yes,
a
hello.
speaker. Okay.
Yeah, I can see
Sorry.
your photo. It's not
Sorry.
a photo; it's a cartoon. And please activate your camera. I think you
Yeah.
can.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. And share your screen,
Yeah.
Harufumi.
Just a moment, please.
Okay,
See
remember.
the
Yeah, I can see. Yes, we
full
see
screen
your.
is okay.
Okay, I don't. Yes, yes, very good. Go
Yeah.
ahead. You have 10 minutes.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Tamazawa Harufumi. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening in Japan. Now it is 23 o'clock. So I will introduce the archive study about amateur astronomer sunspot observation in early 20th century as a from the viewpoint of the student science program. Student science is one of the important topic of this symposium. Some researchers pointed out the level or category of citizen science. The famous level is by Gray 2013 that is crowdsourcing, distributed intelligence, participatory science, and extreme citizen science. In the case of extreme student science, student participants do not only data collection but also analyze, analyze data and to define the problem of question and discuss with researcher and publish the paper. Some of you know the professional amateur scientific collaboration of astronomical observations is one of the good example of extreme science. The right panel is a copy of a Nature paper published in 2010. The last author, Mr. Itagaki, is a very famous supernova hunter, but he not belong to he is not a member of university or institute. Some in astronomy amateur is was very active, and they has a good telescope and system and so on. From the viewpoint of the willingness of participants in citizen science, some researchers researched in Edward 2020 this year surveyed and investigate people's willingness to participate in citizen science in Japan and focusing on their level of interest in science and technology in Japan. They show that contribution, stimulation of intellectual curiosity, and latest knowledge were identified as motivating factors. So, the viewpoint of science literacy, amateur astronomer observers has a cultural literacy that is the ability to use scientific information as intellectual entertainment. So the research question is why is there a good relationship between professional and amateur in astronomy? In other words, why is extreme citizen science program so successful in astronomy? To know that, we checked how was the relationship between professional and amateur formed in astronomy. In my talk, I introduced in Japan case. The key person of this case is Yamamoto Issei, the first director of Kazan Observatory, Kyoto University. Before becoming the director of Kazan Observatory, Yamamoto established an amateur astronomer group, Oriented Astronomical Association (OAA) in Japan, Towa Tenmongakai, and they started the observation. And in Kazan Observatory, Yamamoto and the staff of Kazan Observatory were very active in outreach activity. The bottom photo is an outreach event before World War II. You can see the Japanese kimono style citizen. And Yamamoto grew amateur astronomy observers in Kazan Observatory. So in Japan, Kazan Observatory was called a sacred place, a mecca for amateur astronomers in Japan. After retired to Kyoto University, Yamamoto built a personal observatory for amateur astronomers. We call it Yamamoto Observatory. In Yamamoto Observatory, there's a large number of documents includes amateur astronomer records. The documents was moved to Kazan Observatory now. So we now check the reports of records of solar observation from amateur astronomers in Japan. There's one example of a report, so solar sunspot observation. Yamamoto made the form of solar observation, and observers used the format and sent to the Yamamoto, and Yamamoto edited the records and reported the magazine of Oriental Astronomical Association. We checked before 1945 data before the World War II. Amateur astronomers use not only printed form records as previous slides, but also they use postcards, letterheads, even scrap on notebooks. There's two reasons for this. First is suppliers getting scarce because of World War II, and second reason is awareness. As observers try to keep records, keep up with the reports somehow. There is a letter with a report in 1943. He was asked about the data of meeting for the report, and he answered the situation of observation, but and it is difficult to continue the record. But he wanted to continue the record. What Yamamoto think? Yamamoto write the prospects for the hunting the astronomical club. Yamamoto says, if we think about it this way, there should be as much observation in the East as there is Europe and America, and we can archive the kind of observations that will allow us to realize continuous joint observations on the entire world. Yamamoto thinks cooperation is essential or continuous observation, and in the sense of the number of people for data access is still relevant today. So Yamamoto thought in the broader framework, not for a campaign or a certain astronomical event, but for astronomy itself in Japan. In the case of solar observation, Yamamoto thought as saying,
Harufumi, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. Yamamoto wrote, as of today, people want to know the sun as a living. new things, and cannot wait for the report from for these people. It would be most helpful to have sunspot observation in Japan. For Yamamoto, the activity is itself practical or civic rather than culture. So archiving is very important for IAU. There's IAU 13th General Assembly resolution this way. In the end of this resolution, they write that all of astronomy's historical data. I think it includes the amateur observation data. To use historical observation data, some researcher can research astrophysics or astronomy as a database astronomy or for archive astronomy. Other researcher can research the history of astronomy or history of science, and some researcher can research science communication or STS or cultural astronomy. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Harufumi. And I invite the next speaker, who is, let me see, okay, perfect, who is Mark SubbaRao. I hope he is here. Mark worked along 18 years at Adler Planetarium, but I realized yesterday that now he started a new job as leader of the NASA Scientific Visualization Study. So, hello, Mark. How are you? Can you share your screen? Mark, are you there? I cannot hear you. You are mute. Okay.
Yes, I can. I'm afraid I have
Hello.
yes, hi.
Hello. Have you? Let me check if you have all the permissions.
I don't think I
Wait.
do.
Let me see what's the matter, because theoretically.
Okay, maybe that's on my side. I'm sorry.
No worry. Try now, please, because something happened anytime. So try now. Meanwhile, I will say that the presentation by Mark is presenting big data in the planetarium. So, Mark.
Yes, I apologize.
Try now, because now you have all the permissions.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not allowing me to share.
Turn the camera on. Try with the camera first. Yeah, perfect.
Right, good.
Yes.
Ah, yes.
Good.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, I'm very sorry. Very
No,
sorry
it's
about
okay. It's
the
okay.
technical problems. I'm also have a
Yes.
new job, and I also have a new computer and operating system.
Yes.
I'm trying to
Well. Good luck. Good luck with your new job. I know that is a challenge. So, your time. You have 10 minutes.
All right. Well, I am also the current president of the International Planetarium Society, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the efforts that have been happening with big data in the planetarium. I've been an advocate for the big data in the planetarium. I want to talk about both why I think that's important and some of the things we've been doing to enable planetarians around the world to present current science. So the change that's happened in our field, in the planetarium field, is really, and these are images from the Adler Planetarium. You see on the left, the original 1930 projector. We're approaching the centennial of the optical planetarium, and it is perhaps the original. Planetariums have always been data visualization facilities. They've just been presenting one data set, the visible stars. Now, with the sort of revolution in technology, planetariums can present all kinds of data sets, including big data, current data, complex data. And one question you might ask is why would you want to do this? In general, the public's base understanding of science is relatively low, showing contemporary simulations. And here you're seeing a shot from on the right from a show we did called Planet Nine, about the search for Planet Nine. And I think a lot of that almost comes down to not an educational point of view in terms of what we're trying to teach people, but in an informal learning environment, there's a responsibility to meet visitors' needs. They come to museums expecting to understand the latest in science. One of the challenges with dealing with big data in general is big data is complex data. And here you're seeing a visualization from my new group at NASA, the NASA's Scientific Visualization Studio, showing ocean currents. And a visualization like this is not something that can easily be boiled down into a simple concept or understanding. If you want to get at some simple physical concepts, you're almost better with a cartoon. What a visualization like this does, it lets you take time, explore, look for patterns, this kind of deep observation that comes from immersing yourself. And what a planetarium can uniquely do is immerse you in this giant, complex, beautiful world of ours. Lately, I've been reading this book called Slow Looking by Shari Tishman, and it's I think it's really interesting to me in that it sums up, I think, a lot of things that I get out of a rich scientific visualization. The book is more about taking the time to really look at things, and this concept of slow looking is something that perhaps has always been an important part of education, but has somehow been lost, at least in a sort of a Western traditional formalized education. One of the things they found with some of the programs they've done with students to get them to really look at all kinds in their environment and explore, is that students report a couple of these values. The ability to see things with fresh eyes. That's something that comes naturally to astronomy because for the most part, if you're not an expert, you're looking at something abstract and new. Exploring perspective, which is again, a great value of astronomy and something a planetarium does naturally well. The ability, as we were talking about before with the previous visualization of like looking at detail, appreciating the beauty of the universe. And another thing interesting that the students report from this kind of slow looking is philosophical well-being, something that's particularly important now and a role I think that astronomy education and planetariums can provide. The scene behind you is a show that we produced at the Adler Planetarium called Cosmic Wonder. And in that scene, we did essentially a slow looking exercise where we zoomed in on the Carina Nebula. And then we actually, the narrator said, this is one of the most beautiful images that the Hubble's ever taken. I'm just going to be quiet for a while and let you appreciate it. And we took 90 seconds slowly panning over this image in the giant dome and giving people time to immerse themselves and appreciate. Here's an example of, so like, how do we do big data? It's the problem with dealing with big data in the planetarium is it's hard. There's a lot of work involved. I'm showing a scene that's currently in development by my new group at the Scientific Visualization Studio. This was done by Cynthia Starr for a show called Atlas of the Changing Earth. It's a climate change show. And in this visualization, she's combining 5 different data sets, not incredibly big, but all ranging from, well, generally these 5 data sets are all in the tens of gigabytes of data. You have the high resolution topography of Antarctica, the imagery as well, the bathymetry data you're seeing. You have measurements of sea ice thickness, which we're coming into Pine Island, and the story is telling the story how warming oceans and those currents are leading, are impacting the ice and causing the ice to calve more frequently. We're going to go underneath this ice shelf as well. So the flow vectors, local imagery as well. And wrangling all that data, putting it together is a lot of work. And beyond the capacity of every planetarium. So there are a couple of strategies that I wanted to talk about, in particular, coordination of the community to enable us to benefit from these kinds of visualizations, and then collaboration among planetariums worldwide. In the coordination realm, one of the things we've done is enable producers like the Scientific Visualization Studio, like the European Southern Observatory has really been the group that's led the way with this, is find ways to get the material that these groups have produced out to the community. And in particular, this data to dome format is a content discovery platform that we developed. It's a simple JSON file that content producers can publish. And then we've also worked with, that's 2 minutes. The planetarium vendors who can read this format and announce right away when whenever new content's available, it shows up right in their planetarium console, and they can download it and show it almost immediately. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was collaboration amongst planetariums. And in particular, one of the big projects we've been working on at the Adler Planetarium in the last 4 years is dome casting. And this is linking planetariums around the world for large coordinated events. This simulcasting means that you have a larger audience and you can spend more time in developing that content. So here I'm showing a video that's describing one of these programs. This is the Kavli Full Dome Lecture Series. It gives you a sense of what the experience is like. If we were to, these are scientific lectures. If we were just to produce the lecture for a single audience, we wouldn't be able to put in the level of development in the data sets and the visualization. But by simulcasting it to, and typically for a program, we get about 25 planetariums around the world, that changes the equation and lets us put in the effort to really do the higher level visualization.
1 minute, Mark.
Beautiful. I have about 1 minute left. And I'll just finish with showing a couple of scenes of how that simulcast works. So this is a group in Bogota, Colombia, watching. In this case, they took the stream, but they also had a local translator, so they did simultaneous translation of the program. And we can also stream the planetarium content to YouTube 360. And send out these Google Cardboard headsets, which are relatively cheap. And that means you don't have to come to a planetarium, and we can reach audiences who are unable to make it to a planetarium. In this case, this young woman is in the Chicago Children's Hospital, but she's able to watch this live. So that's the end, and let me figure out how to stop my screen share if I can find the window. And
thank you. We will try to follow with the speakers. Try with Néstor, if Néstor can share the screen. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Very nice work, really. I love the work in the planetariums, in fact. Thank you. The questions will be at the end of the session. Néstor?
So the next contribution is solar eclipses in India's cultural and political history. with Ramesh Kapoor from Indian Institute of Astrophysics of India. Are you there?
Hello. Hello.
Okay. Hi, Ramesh. Open your camera, please.
Okay,
Okay.
your camera is good. Share your screen.
अब इसमें जाना पड़ेगा इसमें ऐसे नहीं आ रहा है वो
Okay. You will have 10 minutes, okay?
Ramesh, you are mute. I will try to turn your mic on, but you can manage that. Okay, now you are fine.
Okay. Shall I start?
Yes, please. Share
solar
your
eclipse-
screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Is the screen being shared?
No,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
No, tânărul îl ajută pe bătrân să
Okay. We are now, yes.
că nu
we
se
are.
vedea nimic.
Very good.
Okay. Shall I start?
Go ahead.
Solar eclipses in India's cultural and political history. My name is Kapoor from Bangalore.
Border. Vorbesc ăștia engleză, că vorbesc de atâtea zeci de ani. Dă-mi și mie cafea, că am uitat să beau.
Okay. To Aryabhatta for the paradigm shift in our perception of eclipses 1521 years ago. Sun worship. Surya, the sun god, has been worshipped in India since antiquity. Numerous temples devoted to him, many near the Tropic of Cancer. Eclipses have been an integral part of India's cultural and political life. These are occasions for the Hindus to engage in ceremonial ablution and charity with hope for a better afterlife. There are references to eclipses in the scriptures and the literary classics, but not very many. Even if actual, the eclipses are most difficult to date. In contrast, there are numerous records of eclipses in stone inscriptions and on copper plates since the middle of the first millennium. These are datable, therefore a boon to fix timelines in history. A literary classic, Gauravaho of 735 CE by Vakpati Raja in the kingdom of Kannauj under Yashovarman eulogizes the king thus. The sun's orb pierced by the black body of Ketu, thus looking from the earth like a hole. It probably is a record of an annular eclipse, the one of 14 August 733 CE. The first record is on metal. The earliest record of a solar eclipse belongs to the Nagardan copper plates of Swami Raja found in 1948. These mention land donation made on the solar eclipse day in the Kalachuri year 322, that is 19 March 573 CE. The eclipse was total Nagardan in central India, missed totality being 50 kilometers of the path. The earliest Indian record specifically stating an eclipse as total is that of 754 CE. It is on an inscription on a monolithic pillar of red sandstone in the Virupaksha temple at Pattadakal in Karnataka. It's about 450 kilometers from Bangalore. It belongs to the period of the Western Chalukyan king Kirtivarman. It says, in the month Shravan, on the new moon Tithi, at total eclipse of the sun, in order to increase the religious merit of his parents and for his own welfare. This is a view of the Virupaksha temple. The temple faces east, and J.F. Fleet suggested for the total eclipse in the inscription the modern date as 25 June 754 CE. A reference like total can come from an actual viewing only. I found that Pattadakal actually witnessed the eclipse. It fell halfway between the central line and the northern fringe of the path of totality. The first specific reference to an eclipse as annular is made in a stone inscription from Ottu, Karnataka. It mentions the eclipse as Valaya Grahana, that is annular, that would be the eclipse of 3 February 938 CE and annular. But Ottur fell 300 kilometers south of the path. It saw the eclipse as partial only at magnitude 0.87. There are similar claims, but most places fell outside the respective paths. So possibly the anecdotal accounts. Now the solar cult and eclipses. Solar cult temples can be found all over India. In some, the assigned dates coincide with or are close to the dates of solar eclipses of large magnitude. One such was at Dashapura in Mandsaur, which is central India, built under Bandhuvarman in 436-37 CE. Just a year before, there was an annular eclipse on 14 February 435 CE. Mandsaur fell close to the central line of the path, annularity 8 minutes plus. Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism and a great reformer, was visiting Kurukshetra when a solar eclipse happened. He used the occasion to address the Hindu pilgrims there and sought to dispel their fears and superstitions associated with eclipses. He said that it was a celestial phenomenon that had no influence on people's affairs on the earth. That should be the eclipse of 13 January 1507. The occasion is beautifully depicted in a mural in the Gurudwara Baba Atal Sahib Ji at Amritsar in Punjab. It is the first observational record of an eclipse depicted in an Indian mural done in the 19th century. And here is a picture of the Gurudwara Baba Atal Sahib Ji. It's a 7-story building, and this is the mural. And you can see here Guru Nanak with a halo around his head, and somebody is cooking food, and others are serving food, which generally during eclipses, the food cooking and eating is prohibited. And so some people are here to show the partially eclipsed sun. Political astronomy is about the role and the influence unexpected phenomena like eclipses, comets, meteors, and earthquakes make on the royalty or the people's life and their response thereto. These were regarded ill omens for the rulers and recorded faithfully in the political history of the Mideast empires and the Mughals. So on the eclipse day, the Mughal emperor would be weighed against grain, butter, etc. to be given in charity right from Akbar's times until Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal in the 1850s. In Aine Akbari, Abul Fazl, the prime minister of Akbar, describes how Akbar abstained from meat on the first day of the solar month, on Sundays, and the days of lunar and solar eclipses, that is to honor the Hindu sentiments. The Akbarnama refers to an eclipse event when Akbar was camping at Thanesar, which is Kurukshetra, through 23 March to 6 May 1567 to take on Raja Uday Singh in the siege of Chittorgarh in Rajasthan. It speaks about the arrival and a bloody conflict among two factions of ascetics who right to the first bath at the Thanesar's holy tank. The occasion was the solar eclipse of 9 April 1567. Jahangir, the fourth Mughal emperor, had interest in astronomy. He has recorded in his journal, Tuzuke Jahangiri, the fall of a meteorite near Jalandhar on 19 April 1621, a few solar and lunar eclipses, and 2 bright comets on November 1618 that he observed. The solar eclipses are of 15 December 1610 and 29 March 1615. The latter, he says, lasted 3 hours 12 minutes, reaching a magnitude of 4/5 of the sun. His figures are very close to the modern computed values of 0.794 for the magnitude and a nearly 3 hours duration of the eclipse at Agra, the capital city of the empire. Eclipses during wars are an important event, but frequently overlooked. These have affected the courses of many a battle in history. Recall the war between Lydians and the Medians in central Turkey, ended by the total solar eclipse of 28 May 585 BCE, a war eclipse. In India, historians have seldom associated eclipses with battles. A total solar eclipse of 17 October 1762 has been considered by some historians to have cast a decisive impact on the course of history in Punjab, over which the path of totality passed. Ahmad Shah Abdali, one of the greatest warriors,
Ramesh,
was in those times attempting to establish Afghan rule in Punjab. Abdali came out to Amritsar with
Ramesh, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah. Abdali came out to Amritsar with army 60,000 strong to decimate the Sikhs, who numbering about 50,000 had gathered to face him. A fierce battle took place. However, an unexpected darkening in the afternoon forced an early retreat by the Afghans to Lahore, which otherwise would have caused even more bloodshed. It possibly saved Abdali's life too. Lahore, Amritsar is about 50 kilometers. In relatively modern times, one such situation emerged during India's uprising against the British, born of an accumulated discontent or long sufferance from their dominion and driven by religious feelings. The revolt broke out at Meerut on 10th May 1857. It soon turned into a great uprising that shook the foundations of the colonial power in India. Delhi fell to the British on 21 September 1857. Just before that, there occurred a solar eclipse on 18 September and annular. Over Delhi, it reached 90% obscuration, just when the war against the British had reached a very critical stage. This eclipse influenced the morale of the warriors and figures in the chronicles, also in the memoirs of Urdu poet Mirza Ghalib. This is Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal emperor. And it says, at noon on Friday, the 18th of September, an eclipse occurred when the sun, which sheds joy and light upon the world, entered into a new constellation. The darkness so frightened the people that inside and outside of the city, the misguided rebels fled like swine, and the victors captured the city and the fort. The horror of mass arrests, assassinations, and slaughter now reached our lane, and the people shook with fear. The eclipse had its impact on the morale of the Indian soldiers fighting a pitched battle in Delhi that fell to the British 2 days later. The eclipse preceded Bahadur Shah Zafar's capture from Humayun's tomb by Captain William Hodgson by 3 days. Under the circumstances, the September 1857 eclipse may be called a war eclipse. This is the Emperor's capture. And thank you very much, the IIU, Director IIA, and Fred Espinac, Mr. Manu Kapoor, and best wishes to all. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ramesh. And we are now ready for the last talk of the session and the last session also. So the last, but not the least, as the English speakers used to say, and is by Gloria Delgado Inglada from UNAM, Mexico. I must say that Gloria was invited for an uninvited talk, but because her obligations with young people at home, she's here and in this session. And the title of the presentation is Estrelleros, Astronomy in Hospitals. Gloria, are you there?
Thank you. Yes. Can you see me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much, Gloria.
You're welcome. Can you see my slide? I take this as a yes. You can see my first slide. So
no, not yet, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No, not yet. Wait a minute, Gloria. Let me see if there is some problem.
Let me try again.
No, yes, please. Wait a minute, because we have two Glorias. Today we have two Glorias, and perhaps I commit some mistake with the. Oh yes, yeah. Now yes, very good. Thank you very much, Gloria. Now you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So I am Gloria from UNAM, Mexico, and I'm going to present you Estrelleros, Astronomía en Hospitales, which is a project that I created in collaboration with many people. Some of them are listed here. Have you ever spent several days in a hospital? Or maybe someone close to you? If the answer is yes, then you will agree with me that this is not a pleasant experience at all. Even less if you are a child. You are bedridden while your friends are at school, at the cinema, or playing in the park. This must be frustrating. In addition to the pain, to the visit of the doctors, and to the discomfort, you cannot live a life like that of other children your age. Recreational activities have many, many benefits. I'm going to mention here just a few of them. Improve self-esteem, reduce stress, anxiety, and isolation generated by hospitalization, relieve parents, and develop affective bonds between children. Astronomy fascinates people. We have a great advantage over other sciences or disciplines. We can use beautiful pictures of the sky, of galaxies, of planets, and we can talk about the origin of life or the discovery of new exoplanets. And with this, we can contribute to obtain the benefits that I have just mentioned to you. But we can also use the wonders of astronomy to achieve other benefits, such as discover skills, develop creativity, and increase general culture. You cannot see the eyes of these children, but you can imagine they are saying, wow, really? Whoa. And this is exactly what we want. Estrelleros, Astronomía en Hospitales, was intended to bring astronomy to children that are hospitalized or that have to visit hospitals very frequently. We want to entertain and to distract these children, and to do this, we use music, as you can see. We use imagination. You can travel to the moon and even walk on its surface. And we use competitions, for example, to guess what are the smells of the universe. We also want to increase scientific culture. And to do this, we use, or we explain, we talk about maths, chemistry, physics, and of course, astronomy while playing with the children. We also explain some concepts about these disciplines. And finally, we want to encourage scientific vocations. All of the volunteers are astronomers or students. So we can explain to the children and also to their parents that being an astronomer is possible. Their children can become an astronomer if they want to. And before I give you some more details about the project, I want to share with you this small video. There is some text in Spanish, but I'm sure you can all understand it. Okay, so we started this project last year. We were able to visit one hospital 4 times. This hospital specializes in children with burn injuries and also with a variety of orthopedical disorders. And we received around 150 people each day, including the children, but also their families. and we were 20 volunteer astronomers each day, and we offer various activities that take into account the special conditions of the patients. For example, here you can see that, well, we have one activity that uses music to explain the chemical composition of the universe. So this activity was designed for people who cannot use their hands or who cannot see. The talks were given in the hall without slides, and you were walking in the middle of the patients and the seats while they were waiting to be attended by the doctors. And we have four different activities. In addition, we put some chairs inside the planetarium for those who need to be seated. So this year, we couldn't visit any hospital, but we are planning now for next year to perform virtual visits. And we are also planning to visit hospitals in other cities in Mexico by using astronomers in these cities. And the activities that we created, we are planning to make them available in our webpage. So they can be used freely in other hospitals or in schools. And I want to finish with one comment from the mother of one of the boys that visited us. I'm going to read it. This is a wonderful activity. Now I have the okay. They should go to other hospitals and visit more children. I love this project because they awaken the curiosity, the imagination. The first time we came and he participated in the space mission activity, it was incredible. I also wanted to travel to the moon. So we are very happy with this type of comments. And to finish, I just want to thank CONACYT, of course, UNAM, our institute, Instituto de Astronomía, to the hospitals Reiners, Mexico, to all the volunteers, and finally to Beatriz, Garcia, and the LOC for all the effort invested in organizing this virtual meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gloria. A nice talk, very nice talk. And well, it's time for the questions. We have a couple of questions. One is for Mark. It's made by Carol Christian, and she said, thanks for the great talk, of course. Nice to catch up with your progress. Remind me, there is a subscription to your streaming service for smaller institutions? Mark.
Yeah. Hi, Carol. Thanks for the question. So there are basically two ways that you can do this kind of synchronization. One would be traditional video streaming. The challenge of that is that planetariums are often very high resolution, so it requires a large amount of bandwidth. And the other is where you actually synchronize the software, much like a multiplayer video game. In that way, you actually don't need much bandwidth at all. So for example, we can run the show at very high resolution and connect to, say, a planetarium in Africa with a very low bandwidth, and they're able to view it just fine. We're actually doing both techniques simultaneously. So for most of the connections, it was the multiplayer video game technique, and that requires pre-registration. You have to install all the software beforehand. But the nice thing is by streaming to YouTube 360, people can pull that in and map that to a smaller dome directly, and that doesn't require the pre-coordination. So I think it's some combination of those two works. I think eventually we want to get to the place that Carol suggested in that talk is like where actually a larger planetarium or a content provider would be putting out a constant video stream, like a channel that a smaller planetarium could just subscribe to.
Yes, a great idea. And well, there are a lot of good comments for Gloria. One is by Hugo Alberto Casorreal, is from San Luis de Potosí, a great initiative, he said, and congratulations. And also by Kumiko Usuda, wonderful activities and beautiful video. From Gloria Isidro also, and Smile in Hospitals. And Kumiko has a question. In Japan, there are some groups and national NPOs which visit a hospital. My question is there any specific preparation to visit a hospital, such as immunization or not to catch a cold?
No, until now, no. It is very strange, but we just went to the hospital and play with the children. Now things are going to change dramatically, but no, we didn't prepare in this sense before.
Okay, Milagros Vera says, "Hi Gloria, your talk was very interesting. How do you finance the project?"
Yeah,
The
thank you
funds. Yeah.
for the question. We obtained financial support from CONACYT, which is Consejo Mexicano de Ciencias, and also from UNAM and our institute. CONACYT has like a specific calls for to increase scientific culture activities and scientific vocations and all of this.
Okay, there is another question to you. Was made by Bricio Caña from República Dominicana. Hello, Gloria is beautiful. If I understood correctly, you are planning to continue virtually. How do you plan to do this virtually?
Hi, Brici. We don't know. We are planning it right now because next year we will not be able to go to the hospitals. So maybe we can make like Zoom sessions, one session for each activity, something like this, and maybe observations can be seen virtually. We are just thinking about it right now, but we don't know exactly how to do it.
Julieta asked you about what is the greatest challenge you had?
Well, maybe one of them is to adapt to each child, because they are very different one from the other, and we want all of them to participate in our activities. And the other challenge is to reach more children, because we were able to go only to one hospital, but maybe if all other astronomers help us, we can reach more children in more hospitals.
Yes, very good. Here is a question, but in fact, we need information by Anneli Pacheco is for Harufumi and Ramesh. It's about if there are some place where, it's just answered, but it's good to know the question. If there is some place where the information is available, the information about your talks. I think you will include that at the chat, right? Ramesh?
Yes.
And
yeah,
yes.
I have already added, and I have given my email ID, and I'll be happy to receive communication and be able to share the information sought for.
Okay. Well, I think it's the same for Ramesh. Here is, well, many congratulations, Gloria, for your work. And a question by Susana Delstua is, have you been in contact with others who carry out this type of activities? Donald Lebovic, yes, has many years working with patients in New York.
Not yet. I'm aware of some activities more focused to education in hospitals, but we don't want to educate, but it's something different. We want to play and to make outreach, you know. So, but now I know more people doing something similar, so I will do it for sure. Thank you.
Okay, well, we are finishing this session. Thank you very much, all the speakers.